We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello, welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your host, Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak from the role of a caregiver. So today, first of all, I want to share, I got my new sweatshirt and our IBD Determined podcast.
Very swag. I'm wearing the shirt version.
Well, you're wearing Karmatude, but
well, yeah.
yeah.
They're the same color scheme.
Let's be honest. You went to find the shirt that matched it.
Yeah, I did, and then I couldn't find it.
Couldn't find it. So he came back and he's all, look, I found this. So I was like, it's not the same one. We can pretend, but it's the Karmatude one. So
this is the part saying that you should go buy merch.
Yeah. So get yours, and it's really warm. Well, he's got a t-shirt. I'm in a sweatshirt because I'm always cold. So it works for us. So today's podcast is going to be something that is based on interacting with other people with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And there's some groups I belong to on Facebook that I was able to ask some questions because, like Mason, when you tell people you have Crohn's disease, you might get some really bad advice.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating things. Sometimes you get really good advice.
Yeah, that could really help you.
Yeah.
You have things that don't make sense with what you have.
And Mason's usually really good about it.
And just be polite about it.
Yeah. And instead of treating it like, wow, they are attacking me, they're judging me,
They're hurting me.
Let me take this as a chance to educate. It can be a frustrating situation, and we just try not to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And the point of this today is to help you guys help out IBD patients. And maybe if you're listening and you don't have IBD, this will help you so you understand a little bit
IBD.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today's lesson is
IBS is not IBD.
Yeah, we'll say it one more time. IBS is not IBD. And for some reason, which I think is, well, not really for some reason, but kind of obviously, I guess, they both sound similar. But that's where it ends.
IB.
It's not the same thing. It'd be like if you broke your leg and someone's like, oh my gosh, I bumped my leg on a table one time and I got a really bad bruise. I totally understand what you're going through.
They just got a bruise.
It's like,
a broken leg is not the same thing as a bruise.
Yeah, it's different. And so you'd want to be careful what you say to somebody in comparing yourself or pretending like, oh, I know all about this because someone I knew or a friend of a friend or a family member has this. So this is not to make anyone feel bad.
No, this is just a learning experience.
Yeah, let's call it that, a learning experience.
A learning experience. We can all learn from this.
We're always learning.
Yes.
We're always, because we're obviously, and that's another thing we need to say, that we are not doctors.
No, we are not doctors.
We're not scientists. So, yeah. That means
research.
Right. So we look into things online, and we have a lot of knowledge we've gained just by going to all the appointments we go to and studying so much. I really immersed myself in this when Mason was diagnosed, so I could do everything I could and be armed with all the knowledge I had to not only help him, but to validate what he was going through. And so that was very important to me to continue to educate myself, and I still do. But with this, I wanted to rely on some research we did to really make sure we have the correct facts. It's just important to have your resources. So we went to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which is always a great resource.
Yeah, that's fun.
And WebMD and a few other online sources just to gather some information. I think it's fair that when you tell someone about your disease, there's a couple different kinds of people right away. There are people that are going to try to help you and say that they understand it because they
have a friend who has it.
Right. There's people that are just, they mean well. They kind of like want to be part of the conversation and make you feel heard. So they
don't mean to hurt you. They're
just
saying what they think.
They're just kind of saying it, but they don't realize that it does kind of make you feel dismissed because you're kind of summing up like, oh, this is what you have. I know all about it. A really good way to do that is to ask the person about it. I think you probably feel better when somebody may ask you about it instead of assuming. So they could say, well, my friend had this. Is that similar to what you have? Instead of just telling you this,
Oh, I know what that is, and this is what this is
right.
because they don't have it. So, I mean, it's not their fault, but they don't really know what it is because they don't have it. So,
Yeah.
something that's always best to do is kindly ask
And a lot
questions.
of people with IBD don't talk about it because they don't want to be judged. And so, to be fair, there's not a lot of information. Sometimes people think, like, well, I have a friend with it, but they're doing great. But that's because their friend has not told them how
Yeah,
awful it
the
is.
horrible things that are happening.
Right. And so, and they watch their friend observe things and think, oh, they solved it by cutting out gluten. And they make observations that may not be the truth or be what's going on for this person at all. So there's those kind of people that just kind of want to be part of the conversation, continue it. But a really good way to do that is ask questions and not assume
Mhm.
just because of your prior knowledge. And then there's people, and a lot of you have family or friends like this that are just kind of dismissive and don't care. And you
Mhm.
probably already knew that though. So if they're going to say something rude or negative, that's just kind of on par with their personality. It's who they are. And so there's those kinds, but we're here today to address the people that don't mean to hurt people. They want to be able to support a friend and talk about it. So today it's going to be all about how IBS and IBD
Are different things, and they're
different
not the
things.
same.
And it's unfortunate that they sound
So
so
similar.
similar. Yeah. And we're going to start off, first of all, with a few comments some people said. And I can let you read a few of these if you want me. So these are not going to be direct quotes. We didn't use names. I did let people know that we have a podcast, but these are just comments that these people have heard in relation to IBD and IBS. First one, someone said they hear, oh, I have those problems. I have IBS too.
Which IBS is different than Crohn's or
Yeah.
IBD.
So
So
they think, oh, IBS, IBD must be the same thing, just a little different. It's like, oh,
no,
it's not. Another one says they hear,
I too have IBS,
right, like they're thinking it's, again, same thing.
IBD, IBS.
Another unfortunate member of the group had a family member who was a dietitian and would like to give them magazines about IBS and gut health, not understanding again it's
IBD
IBD.
and not IBS.
Right. And another person said, I know exactly how you feel. I have IBS.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this is a repeated, like, these are all
Yeah.
different people. This is not the same person just restating it. These are all
It's all
different
different
people.
people.
Someone else was told it's probably just your IBS getting worse.
It's not
And
IBS.
no, it's not. And it's not the same thing, but another stigma, which I think is why people confuse these, so I thought it was important to mention, is someone said they hate that the stigma of Crohn's is that it's just a bathroom, we're gonna use that word. Yeah, just
Disease.
a bathroom disease, and it is
It's not.
not. It is not, and so I think some people, that's where they kind of get confused because IBS is mostly a bathroom issue.
Like we've said before, Crohn's is it can include restroom issues, but it also includes eye issues, bone issues, growing issues, which is caused by the things you're put on for Crohn's disease. It can
Joint
cause
pain.
joint pain.
Mhm.
Yeah, like my back would go out. So it's not just one thing. It causes a bunch of different things,
Yeah,
and it can affect your whole body. So
right, and so some people just kinda limit it, and that's kinda like, and it's like, how much time do you have to hear me explain why it's not just a bathroom disease? You don't usually have much time to explain to
yeah,
somebody sometimes in passing when they're commenting really quick, and it's like, ugh. So, but next time you can refer 'em to our podcast.
yeah. Refer
So,
them to our
next time
podcast.
someone annoys you and says, like, these kinda things and bothers you, say,
So
"Hey,
go to IBD
go
Determined
watch season 2,
podcast.
episode 3 of IB Determined," and have them watch, and we're help. We're here to
Yeah,
help, so we're gonna
we're
help
gonna
guide
help.
you so that, everyone's happy and everyone learns something.
Yeah.
Another thing someone was told, or that they said, was everybody knows someone who has IBS, and they're always comparing them to you. Because IBS is more common,
Mhm.
and so you may know people, and so they will compare it to you as if it's the same thing, and again,
Which
it's
it's
like,
not.
it's not. And I think that's part of it's important to mention is that I think it's not like it's irritating to you so much
Is it
that it's
frustrating?
it's more frustrating, like these people are constantly comparing you to something that you don't have and you feel like, "Ugh, I don't have to explain again." And so it's easier sometimes some people give up and they're like, "Yeah, sure. That's but we like to talk and we think that it's important to discuss it. So that's what we're here today to do.
How fun.
And one more, I'm not going to keep going through all of these. So it's, I have IBS. I know how you feel. And this person actually took it a step further and said, this is their response. This was not ours.
Theirs.
I always ask them if it feels like they have a drill going from their abdomen into their back.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
that must feel great.
right. So it's because there's a lot of pain involved with IBD that is hard for others to understand, especially with IBS. It's again not the same. And so this is hopefully a good education. And maybe if you're watching, you can learn a little bit more about IBD as well today. Even if you have it, there might be something you can learn. So let's jump into why IBS is not IBD.
Yay.
And what were you going to say?
I said, yay, we're getting to the fun part where you can understand the difference.
Yeah, this should be really exciting.
Yeah.
So let's see. So let's go over some of the differences. So the first one is, do you want to take that one?
IBS stands for irritable bowel syndrome.
So irritable bowel syndrome. Okay. Let's all, repeat that in your heads a few times if you need to.
Yes.
IBD is
inflammatory bowel disease. So even though IB and IB, the I's both stand for something different.
right. One's irritable, one's inflammatory.
They should do something about that, like put another initial after it so you know that it
I
stands for something
know.
different.
Just do
like
something different.
IBD or something like that.
That's yes. Change the first one. So,
Yeah.
so both those are with an I and have a B. But yeah. So one is a syndrome, one is a disease. One is irritable, one is inflammatory. So already in the names, if you break it down, they're two different things. We said in the beginning, but this is all from the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation and WebMD and a few other online resources. So we're reading these. I want to make sure you guys know that I'm not just like
making these up
or that I'm just getting out of my head,
They're from the official Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yes. So IBS is
Not
a disease. It is a syndrome defined as a group of symptoms. So in one site, so I think this was WebMD, said it's a condition in which the contents move too fast or too slow through the intestines, usually accompanied by abdominal pain. And so, yes, I mean, that leads to restroom issues, which is why people might think that IBD is just a restroom issue because of what IBS is. IBD
is a disease.
Is a disease.
Says it in the name.
And I think something I want to point out really quick, because I just thought of this too, just to make sure people know that things are always changing. We still don't know the root source of IBD. They still don't know.
It's still under examination.
Right. Still
They're
research.
Still understand it.
And IBS is still looking to be understood. Mm-hmm. So this is what we have as of now. Maybe the future things will change for either one. So I just want to make sure to include that. So with IBD being a disease, it causes destructive inflammation and permanent damage to the intestines.
Which is not good.
Right. Which IBS does not do.
Destruction.
Right. And IBD includes two conditions that cause swelling and irritation in your digestive tract. And those two conditions, and with swelling, irritation sounds so minor, but I mean, the things it causes is extremely damaging. Yes. There's Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. There's also indeterminate colitis in there as well. But those are the two ones, is Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And IBD is what doctors call a structural disease. That means physical damage causes your symptoms. So the damage that's being done is causing more the symptoms.
And symptoms, yes.
Right. And doctors can see chronic inflammation or ulcers when they look at your gut with an x-ray, endoscopy, surgery,
or biopsy,
which you've had.
Yeah,
all those little things in there. So yeah, what you've gone through. And with IBS, again, no inflammation is caused. So IBD causes inflammation, IBS does not. So that's why the word inflammatory is in IBD and not in IBS. Again, not the same thing. And IBD can be seen during diagnostic imaging like we just talked about. They can see it. IBS has no sign of disease or abnormality. So if you did any of those tests we just talked about, the fun ones, did those, you're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
But versus with IBD,
You're
you're going to see it.
see some things.
Yeah.
Some things you don't want to see.
Yeah. I know. You never did. They always show you the picture. They're like, here's your intestines, here's your colon, here's your, and it's like, I'm good. I'm good. Thank
Why are you
you,
showing
poor
us-
Mason. I know.
Please, I don't want to see this.
I know some people out there may be fascinated by it, but I don't know many kids that are. It's more
I'm
like,
not
oh
as
my
fast
gosh,
as I
that's
don't
what
need to see these pictures.
I know. It's kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I mean, that's what they have to do.
yeah. And doctors are so used to it. They're
Yeah.
like, what do you mean this is weird? And it's like, oh gosh, most of us don't look at that every day.
Yeah.
So it's just not. One of the other things is IBD carries an increased risk of colon cancer.
That's
And
not good.
IBS carries no increased risk of colon cancer. So
Pretty
again,
big difference there.
yeah, and this kind of goes back. These are one of the reasons why they try to get this disease under control is to minimize that risk of cancer for these guys. So that's why, with Mason, we were so aggressive and went with what the doctor's plans were because we want to keep him healthy for as long as possible. Yeah. So now let's kind of move on to like, okay, you might be saying, all right, so here's all these things, but what are the differences between like symptoms and maybe complications of both? So symptoms of IBS may occur after a large meal or if you're under stress. They can be temporarily relieved.
Temporarily.
So yeah,
yes.
or will you just probably go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
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 I was trying to say it in a nice way.
Yeah. Or
I don't know. So yeah, so
or what I would think
or
that
by
would
taking
mean
some,
is, yeah, like taking
but we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit further in here. Again, there could be more research being done to understand IBS, but that's what we found as of right now. That is one of some of the symptoms of IBS. How they occur is after a large meal if you're under stress. Symptoms of IBD that you will never have with IBS. So this is a very important one as we discuss this, guys, that if you're having these symptoms, this is not IBS. This will always be IBD.
IBD.
Again, according to what we found online.
Mhm. According to online.
I'm sure
yes.
there's anomalies with everything. And so someone could have IBS and listening said, wait, I am anemic. But that's going to be different. There's going to be little things like that. So again,
There's always outliers.
there's always the outliers. This is just like your average on average. So I just don't want to say anything like set in stone because I hate doing that because science is always changing and things happen. So this is what we have found so far. And we do recognize that things could be different, but
Mhm.
typically on the average, these are things you'll never have with IBS, only
with
with IBD. And that is because it's a result of IBD, what IBD is doing. So these are kind of like offshoots of the IBD is destroying your body. So you're going to have some symptoms of that. Symptoms would include anemia, bleeding, weight loss, fever, inflammation in joints.
skin, and eye issues, which
Right.
you don't want to have eye issues.
No. So those are some of the ones that you wouldn't have with that. Other complications of IBD would be dehydration.
Malnutrition.
We mentioned anemia, bone loss.
That's not good.
No, and Mason did have some bone density issues, but luckily they corrected it.
Yeah, I took vitamin D. That's what, right? And then
The biologics
I took
helped.
the biologics, and I started drinking Fairlife, which it didn't help much, but it still helped in a way.
Shout out to Fairlife, you guys.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
No, not a sponsor.
As if
but
we'd have a sponsor, like you'd even assume that.
imagine.
But I just want to say it.
If you even thought.
I just want to say it to pretend like we actually thought.
Guys, we have a sponsor.
guys might be
100%
confused.
Totally.
Yeah. Just have to let you know. But Fairlife milk is it's lactose free, but the amount of vitamins and it's got less sugar. It's a fantastic milk. Like it is so good. So anyways, that's what we use for Mason. So there's several things that the doctor did. And once that inflammation got under control, that really helped too.
Yes.
But now his bone density was normal, for someone his age. Yeah. And we'll probably have to do another test again. They test him a little more regularly than a regular kid without this disease. And so let's get back to it. Other complications of IBD that you will have is
infection.
You could have infection,
Oh.
blood clots, ulcers, blocked bowels.
How fun.
Poor people. I know. Fistulas and abscesses. Careful Googling that. But if some of you wonder, I'm not going to go into detail on what these are. I'm well aware, but yeah. a hole in your colon,
That's not good.
rapid widening of the colon, and a higher risk of colon cancer. Something else that wasn't listed, but that Mason had, and that was kind of a complication from IBD, was hepatomegaly, which was basically like fatty liver. And so he did have that complication, and also nail clubbing.
That was one of the weird ones.
Yeah, and I don't, again, some people told me it's because of there's something going with his lungs, there's something going with his heart. And, the doctors just attributed it to, like, I guess, like the malnutrition from the Crohn's or something. No one ever had an explanation for us.
And the weird part was, like, about a year ago or so when we started getting, actually more than a year ago, when we started getting the inflammation under control,
Yeah.
and I was out of the main flare and into more
Like closer to remission.
closer to remission, the nails started to become more normal.
Yeah,
So it
they
might
did.
be a thing with, like, inflammation or a flare that could have something to do with it, but it doesn't really say that it has anything to do with it. So
Yeah.
we're not for sure, but there
Yeah.
might be a little connection there.
Yeah, it's always interesting to find out if somebody else has had it, because, like, with
Yeah.
this disease, some of you get things that the others don't. And that's what's always interesting. I see parents asking all the time, like, my child has this. And I'm like, well, Mason never had that. Or Mason will have something that their child has never had. So it's
Now, it
kind
goes
of
back to the thing,
interesting.
Crohn's is different for everyone.
It is. It really is. This is something, these are all things that are complications or symptoms of IBD that you wouldn't have with IBS. So again, I mean, I shouldn't be having to say it, because they're two different things. So it feels kind of silly to, like, break it down like this, but I think it's important for education. And right, exactly. So
for us who lives with IBD, IBS definitely is different. But for someone who doesn't have Crohn's, it can seem like the same
right.
thing.
And it also might be someone who's scary who gets diagnosed with IBS if they think it's like IBD and they're
Yeah,
like,
like,
oh
"Oh,
my gosh,
no.
what does this
Oh,
mean? It's,
no."
and so it's good to know too if you have IBS. It
Okay,
is,
it's not
because
Crohn's.
IBS is not fun either. I
Yes.
mean, neither one is. So this is not like a comparison of saying one is worse than the other. They're just
They're
different.
better.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
they're
they're
different.
just different. So you really shouldn't compare them,
No.
but we are doing that because we want to show you the
And teach you the
differences. Yeah,
differences.
but IBD is definitely a
Much more
disease, and
aggressive
yeah,
disease.
so it's definitely different. So let's talk about, let's see, the complications of IBS, because we just discussed some of the complications and symptoms from Crohn's.
Or IBD.
Yeah, from IBD.
Yeah.
So those, what we just went through was some of the symptoms and then some of the complications and that arise from it. And with IBS is less dangerous. Its main complication is usually how the symptoms affect your quality of life. And because of that, it could also cause depression or anxiety.
Those aren't good.
No, which is similar
Yeah.
to, I think, anybody going through something health-wise. It's always
Yeah.
important to evaluate mental health.
Same, because
And
if you're
check it for that.
recently diagnosed with something and you don't know what you've been diagnosed with, it would be normal to feel anxiety. It's like,
Yes.
what is this? What am I dealing with right now?
Yes.
Is this curable? Is this
And you have no
not
idea what it
curable?
looks like. Like, what am I going to look like? What's it going to be like in a
How
year?
dangerous is it?
Yeah. So
What does it do?
there's
It'd
a
be
lot
normal
to
to
take
feel
in
anxiety.
the beginning. So let's talk about some of the ways that you treat IBD versus how you treat IBS. And so here's that fun word again, aminosalicylates.
Ooh, we're pronouncing things.
I have no idea again. But I think that's just.
Or if you're on YouTube, turn on closed captions and see if it
Oh,
gets
no.
anything right.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. I know, huh? We should do that to ourselves. I've never done
See
that.
what happens.
I know. We
Trying to
should
say
probably
everything wrong.
rewatch these with that on before we advise people to do that.
I mean, give them something fun to do.
Oh, have fun with it, guys.
Yeah.
Have fun. Just like if your TV is like ours, it freezes up and you probably get a lot of strange faces from us too. So enjoy,
Yeah.
however you enjoyed this show. We hope it's bringing
Like
you
it to be
joy.
funny or
Yeah.
serious.
It's fine. It is
Yeah.
what it is. Okay, so let's get back to being serious. We're talking
Yeah.
about ways to treat IBD. And so one of the ways is aminosalicylates, and those work on the lining of your intestine. They help in mild or moderate cases of IBD. And these are kind of what we talked about on last week's episode. We talked about dual biologics. We went into some of the ways, some of these are partnered up with the biologics sometimes. And corticosteroids weaken your immune system. You'll take them for a short time if your symptoms flare up. So like prednisone, when you're taking prednisone, a lot of you with the steroids know this. Immunomodulators also affect your immune system. You can use them as long-term treatment. So one of the examples, there are many, but just one because we're discussing, because Mason took it, was methotrexate. That is one of the immunomodulators.
And I didn't like it.
No, it made you sick.
Yeah. It was like one of the only pills I ever took that had a taste even when it wasn't broken.
Yeah, we tried always. We tried to like break it up. We tried to hide it and stuff for him. So but it was just, and it would
But
start
it
making
did
you
help.
nauseous. You
Yeah.
started getting
Yeah.
sick.
But it did help with the inflammation. So
Yeah. Well, we thought it did. Turns out it really didn't, though. That's why they took you off of it.
yeah, well, we were on it for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I know.
I was just
You're
saying
just
because
like,
this
give me
one.
the pills, whatever I have
Yeah.
to take, whatever the doctors told me to take. But the methotrexate, they had hoped it would help him because if we had stayed on it longer, you were on it from like June of 2020 until April. So in 2021, because that was what you asked the doctor for your birthday, was to get off methotrexate. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
He was begging her.
Like, please take me off.
We would see his
methotrexate.
GI every 4 weeks. And so, it was like, can I get off the methotrexate yet? But she wanted to make sure that it wasn't benefiting him, because if so, he would have had to continue on it. But the methotrexate
Yeah.
was funny because he did ask for that one,
Like, please just take it off.
And so his doctor was like, okay, we'll do that. Otherwise, he could have had injection.
Mhm.
And I think you would have definitely preferred the injection.
Over.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So anyways, there's that fun story. I hope nobody listening is about to start methotrexate,
Yeah.
and you're like, because if it does work for you, and not everybody reacts the way Mason did either. Again,
Yeah,
this
like,
is so
Crohn's
individual.
different, IBD is different.
So
for
don't be
everyone.
afraid to try it. If your
Yes.
doctor is suggesting it, give it a try. And if your child ends up not being able to swallow the pills, or they start making them nauseous, try the injection.
Injection.
And for some people, like it says, they use it as a long-term treatment. So another way you treat IBD, we are getting way off topic. So sorry. But biologic therapies, and that is Mason's on 2 of those, and we have other episodes on these therapies, so you can learn more about that and watch a few of our other episodes if you'd like. Another way they treat it is with antibiotics to fight infection, either caused by the disease or from the surgery to treat it. Woo! And some people who have IBD are going to need surgery to repair the damage to their digestive tract. And you also may require an ostomy. And some of those are permanent, some are reversible. And so that just depends on the disease.
Which it can help people. It can really help people, and
Mhm.
can almost it can make their lives a lot better. But thankfully for me, I haven't needed one. But they're
Yeah.
still very good.
We came close
Mhm.
and to needing surgery
Because there was a doctor that came in once and they're like, and maybe we could do a surgery and we could
Yeah.
get
But the one thing that stuck out in my mind with this disease, and this will be on another episode when we talk about things people say about curing it. And a lot of people don't understand you can't cure Crohn's with
disease.
surgery. And so to me, I just remember learning,
with surgery.
if you're going to do surgery, we still need to find a way, though,
Yeah.
to prevent this from
Because
progressing.
you're only helping that certain area.
Right. And so sometimes surgery is definitely necessary because something
Yeah.
is too damaged. You have a stricture, or you have narrowing, you have that narrowing, you have wall thickening in your intestines. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. And it's like, yeah, I have to have this done, which in that case, that's what it's intended to do. But when you have that surgery, you can't come out of the surgery and say, I'm cured. I don't have Crohn's anymore. It's like, no, you don't have that problem,
Yeah.
but you still have Crohn's. So for me, what was so important was getting Mason onto a treatment, onto something that would help this disease not be so progressive.
And
So
slow it down.
right. So surgery is, always on the table for these guys. I think it's like 1 in 4 within the first 10 years. I should probably have that written down. But it's something I've heard, I think, from the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation site. They'll have this on there, the actual numbers. To treat IBS, your doctor may recommend over-the-counter or prescription drugs to help with the
Diarrhea or
Thanks,
constipation.
Mace. Way to take that one from thanks. I was like, should I say it or should I?
Like, this is an educational show.
It is. It's
You need
talking
to
about
learn.
IBD, so I guess it's okay. And so some of those drugs include laxatives or antidiarrheals, antispasmatics, and antidepressants. So that's really, as far as we're going to take today, talking about the differences between IBS and IBD, because I think you get it at this point. I think if we have to talk about it much more, you need another podcast. This is not going to do it for
might
you.
even confuse you more.
Yeah.
But one
So
thing that I think it is a good takeaway
Mhm.
is that Crohn's, you can't cure it currently. There's no cure for it. You can only take biologics or pills or injections or
all those things we just
fusions,
mentioned. Yeah.
to kind of slow it down or kind of band-aid it to
Right.
help stop the inflammation to do more damage.
Right.
But with IBS, you can cure it with well, not cure it,
Right.
but
That's
you
because it's not a
can help it.
disease, it's
Yeah.
a syndrome. And so there's things to treat it. So it's important for us whenever we do these shows, there is so much research that goes into it. And Mason lets me be usually the research part
Yeah.
because Mason has school, Mason has homework. So
And I
I
just jump
can,
on the show and be like, "Hey guys, guess what I did?"
yeah, he's just, he's the pretty face for it. No, but really, I want to make sure that when I'm talking about something, I have looked into it and I've tried to look at all the angles on it because I just don't think it's fair to say something can only be done one way or to so there's a lot of research that goes into this for you guys. So we really try hard to do that. And I know not everyone listening is going to agree with us because your experience might be different. And that's why we encourage you guys to share your comments.
And
So
everyone has
yeah.
opinions.
And so we're going to, like Mason said, had a few takeaways from this. One of the things I hope is that you guys out there realize that most people mean well. They're just uneducated. And in a few of the groups that I had mentioned where I asked this question to, I talked to them, is the sad ones to me were the people who said, I gave up. I don't talk about this disease. I don't tell anybody because it's none of their business. I'm going to get judged. I respect how you want to talk about it. Like
Yeah.
if Mason chooses at any point to not want to talk about this anymore,
Yeah.
that's his choice. And I would not share anything about him that he doesn't want me to share.
Mhm.
I think a lot of kids though, I think is so important for voices to be heard, especially a child or teen. Yeah, in our case. But I think it's really important because so many kids may feel alone or may feel like they don't know how to talk about it. So hopefully by watching Mason talk about it,
They'll
it's like,
feel maybe more
yeah, and kind of like
open.
say, hey, this is what it is. And I think that you shouldn't feel like you can't talk about it because you're going to be judged. And so that's what this show is all about, is helping you guys out because some of you, I do respect that some of you don't want to talk about it. And so that's what we're kind of here. Obviously we like to talk about
Yes.
IBD a lot.
And
So
people do
kind of
judge
our
you.
thing. So that's why we're here to help and maybe give you the courage to speak about it. And if you still don't feel like talking about it because it's nobody's business but your own,
That's just you.
totally, it's you.
It's understandable.
And you can feel free to share our podcast if
Yeah.
you're like, oh gosh, you know what though? But hey, I'm
There's
not
a
going to
great
talk about this, but
podcast.
there's a
The best.
podcast,
There's the best
the
podcast
best
ever.
one
Yes,
ever.
100%.
Yes, make sure you include that.
Yes.
And, refer them to us. Hopefully they won't fall asleep and they will learn something from us. So
No, we're just a screensaver.
yeah, really, it is your right what you want to talk about.
Yes.
And despite how much we're happy to talk about it, we do know some of you out there don't feel the same. And
We're not forcing you to talk
so,
about it. We're not
no.
forcing you to not talk about it. Just be yourself and
hopefully, you've got friends in us.
yes, you have us.
Yeah, exactly.
You have us on the
We're
screen.
partners in this, friends, family, whatever it is. So,
Yes. You're not alone.
yeah. So we're happy to be the voice for IBD and speak out about this. And we hope that we are kind of giving you the courage to stand up for yourself in a good way and educate and not just assume somebody is being mean. They may be well intended. They just don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
IBS is
It's
not
not
IBD. Make sure you're educated too. So you can continue to educate and raise awareness. And so we can hopefully make a better future for all of you out there with IBD. So thank you guys for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at Team IB Determined, and you can watch Mason's journey, watch our family adventures, and you can also listen to our podcast anywhere they play podcasts like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. And I also include a link to Buzzsprout where you can see all the different icons where you can listen to us.
And if you like watching and hearing at the same time, go to YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon.
Yeah, we post about once a week. That's the goal. We've been able to do that. And also super exciting, we're now on YouTube podcasts. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that just happened. Yeah, YouTube joined, they joined the podcast train here. And so we have our channel, which is all of our videos, but some people might just want to listen. And so we also have that option too so we have it on YouTube podcasts now. That just happened this week. We uploaded all of our many episodes and our new season, so they'll be on there too. So
and also, they thought they could escape the guilt trip.
Oh gosh, I did too.
No, they can't. No. It's not a guilt trip. It's just saying, please, can you please comment? We love getting comments, and if you want to comment, you can comment and say anything you want as long as it's nice. But if you need an idea that you want to comment, maybe say something about what you want us to talk about in our next podcast, what you're
Yeah.
related to in this podcast, why you started watching us, fun things like that. If you just want to say hello. So, yes, if you're on YouTube, please leave a comment.
Yeah, or maybe like what someone has said to you about IBS and
Yeah.
IBD, like things like that. And I think it's fun for Mason to hear from people too that like have like him have Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis and hear your comments and just know you're watching. So even if you have nothing to really say, but just want to say hi, listening from wherever you're at, like that's cool too. So you guys all have a good work week, weekend, evening, morning, afternoon, school
Wonderful
day,
school day.
whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
thank you for choosing to hang out with us and listen to us talk about
Wonderful
fun things
things.
like IBD.
Yes.
So, yeah.
IBD versus IBS
Yeah. Yay. All right, guys. So we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to play something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.